Last week, we had a guest speaker. Her name is Tirsa. She's actually a therapist, a family therapist. So last week, we talked about this mental health awareness. So I thought, I want to continue the conversation, the discussion about the emotional health or mental health awareness, right? If you think about it, I heard someone say this. In relationship, right? There's no really a relationship problem. What happened is these two individuals come into a relationship bringing their problem. So what I'm saying is that this is very important for us to become healthy emotionally, spiritually, even physically, right? Because if two healthy individuals get together, the relationship will be healthy as well. So again, for today, I want to continue this conversation about emotional health, mental health. And if you wonder why we talk about this at the church, right? Why we talk about it in church, there's something that I want to show you. When I was in Bible school, one of the class that I took required me to read this book called The Emotionally Healthy Church. And the big idea of this book, the thesis of this book is this. There's this statement that the author says that emotional health and spiritual maturity are inseparable. It is not possible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. In other words, spiritual maturity and emotional health and emotional maturity go hand in hand, goes together, right? But I think for so many years, churches and people like me who work as a pastor, right? I gotta admit it that we haven't done a good job talking about this, right? Because a lot of times we think that God only cares about our spiritual side of our life. But hey, God cares about every single part of our lives, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Now, for this particular day, I want to focus on this one topic. It is part of being emotionally healthy. I want to talk about this one word right here: stress. Stress. Uh, 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 you know, just by a showing hand, how many of you have stress before? Right? I think all of us. It's part of life. It's part of being a human being, right? I found some memes here, not memes, but a Twitter posting about stress. This is what one of the persons say. If stress burned calories, I'll be a supermodel by now, right? How many of you remember that ball that you, or whatever that thing that you squeeze? Stress ball, is that what you call it, right? This is one person saying, are you saying the stress ball is not for throwing at the people who cause you stress, right? Okay, right? Another post that I like here. We gotta admit it that a lot of times the thing that causes us stress is the workplace, right? This one person say, "I want to run away, but I cannot afford it." So, again, here's a few things about stress. If you want to be honest, right, we all stress out before because life is stressful, right? If people say that life is not stressful, I don't know if they live in denial or because we just cannot avoid stress. Now, so today I want to just share with you a very practical thing, right? How do we respond? How do we respond to stress? Right? There's this part of what it means to be emotionally healthy is how do we respond to stress the right way? How do we respond to stress? So to make it easier for you to remember, I come up with this EMT. This is how we're supposed to respond to stress. EMT is not emergency medical training. But EMT stand for this. I will tell you. So when you go home from it, you know what? How do we respond to stress? EMT. So E, the first one, is stand for embrace it. Embrace it. Again, if stress is unavoidable, we might as well embrace it, right? Do you know that human being cannot function without stress? It is a natural part of being a human. Now, I feel like it's very, very important for me to say this, that we need to embrace stress. Because I don't want us to make it as a goal in our life to avoid stress at any cost. The goal of life is not to avoid stress. Or here's the other way I put it: the right dose or the right amount of stress is actually good for us. The right amount of stress is actually help us grow as a person, as an individual. So we need to learn to embrace it. I think the perfect example would be working out, right? When you lift weight, you put a stress on your muscle, right? Too much stress, it will make you injured. A little too little stress is not going to help you grow. The right amount of stress will help you get stronger and grow your muscles. Apostle Paul, um, he wrote a letter to a Christian and to the church, the people who actually live in Rome, Italy. Now, if you are a Christian in the first century, you don't want to live in Rome, Italy, right? Because in the middle of the city, they have this big stadium. They call it the Colosseum, right? This is where the Christian is being fed to lion. So, being a Christian in the city of Rome is stressful because you get persecuted. But Apostle Paul tried to encourage the people, trying to encourage the Christian. This is what he said: we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials. For we know that they help us, what is it, guys? Develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character. And character strengthens our confidence, hope of salvation. In other words, when we face problem, trial, right? When there's a little bit of stress, it's actually help us grow our endurance. The brother of Jesus, his name is James, also say a very similar thing. This is what he said: dear brothers and sisters, when trouble of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, help me out here, 1, 2, 3, your endurance has a chance to grow. Right? In other words, problems, trials, stress, develop our endurance, develop our growth, help us with our growth. Or in the words of Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you, make you stronger, right? There was a study that's done at the workplace. This study is actually done in the workplace. They were trying to find out how the employee can grow in the workplace. So they draw this in that study, they draw this kind of graphic or diagram, or what do you call it here, right? And then they find out there's 3 types of situation where you can put an employee in. The first one is the bottom one. You said that under challenge, right? There's the employee that will feel like the workplace is under challenge. Now, if you work in this environment, I would think it's just gonna be no fun. Do you know why? Because you have talent, you have knowledge, you have skills, but they don't let you use them. Right? You are good, you are creative, but they don't let you create something. So it's no fun. They don't tap into your talent. So it doesn't take long before you find something else, before you quit from the job, because you have skill, you have knowledge, and they don't let you use it. But then you go to the middle one, appropriately challenge. A lot of us think that that's where we grow the most, but it's actually not. Right? We think that this is the place where the best way to illustrate this would be like if you are running a race against 5 years old, right? You know you're gonna win, so you're gonna go. Okay, you go first. You go first, because we know that eventually you're gonna win, right? If you work in this kind of place, right? You know tomorrow you have presentation, but I can just wing it. Right? I know tomorrow I have a presentation. I get it done tonight. It's just only going to take me 1 hour to do it. Right? This kind of place doesn't require you to bring the best version of you. I can watch Korean drama until like 3 o'clock in the morning. I get 3 hours of sleep. Right? I can still do my work well at the workplace. Right? And then there's this other place called dangerously over challenge. This is where pressure and pressure and pressure every single day, crazy pressure, right? They push you and they push you, right? Your boss never care about you. Your employer never care about you. They don't care if you have enough people, right? The job that's supposed to be done by 3 people, right? You are the only person who doing it. You're always short on people, right? When they want to when they create something and you ask the question, okay, you're gonna add something else, but who's gonna do it? And they say, you. So they keep adding things into your plate, right? This is like the engine. If you just keep pushing and pushing, eventually something's gonna break. If you guys work in this kind of environment for too long, eventually something's gonna break. Whether it's your family, right? Your wife, your kids, your husband, they don't enjoy being around you because when you go home, you're tired, you are stressful, right? Or maybe it can be our health. How long can we do what we do there if we keep staying on that zone, right? Having heart attack at the age of 35, right? But according to that study, this is where we actually grow the most. Right here, I have an arrow there. Right there, just right above that place right there. This is where actually you will do your best work. This is where you actually will grow the most. Maybe putting the right amount of stress. I'm thinking about the example of this, like if you are an accountant, this is a busy season, right? It's a tax season, right? It just it's a stressful season, and then it will slow down a little bit. If you work in retail, holiday season is a busy season, right? Right? It's stressful, and then it will let you slow down a little bit. Volunteering at the church, working at the church. Easter is coming, Christmas is coming. Usually that time is the busy season, right? My wife worked in the company where they design a prom dress. So the busy season would be like right around where people are going to prom. Right? So again, your goal and my goal are not to avoid stress, but embrace it because again, it will help us grow. Now, if you allow me, I want to use this. I know this study is about a workplace, but I want to try to use this and ask you to think about your faith journey using this. Right? Think about your journey with God, your journey as a Christian, as Jesus followers. And think about this. How have you grown today compared to last year? How have you grown today compared to 2 years ago? Or if you've been a Christian for 5 years, 10 years, how have you grown today compared to 5 years ago? If you've been a Christian for some times, and if you read your Bible, you probably know what I'm talking about, because if you look at the relationship between Jesus and his followers, especially the disciples, the 12 disciples, you can see that a lot of times Jesus put them in the position where it's uncomfortable for them. For the sake of our discussion, a lot of times Jesus put them in the position where it's stressed them out a little bit. For example, the disciple one time praying for the sick and trying to cast demon, but they couldn't. And then Jesus finally said that, well, this kind, you need prayer and fasting, right? Jesus put them in the position where they have to forgive people over and over and over again, to the point where the disciple asked question, Jesus, how many times we should forgive people, right? It's the situation where it just pushed them to stretch themselves. And then the extreme example, right? They were all in a boat, and then there's a big storm. And Jesus was sleeping. Tested their faith. And those situations, that stressful situation that helped the disciple grow, that helped their faith grow. So let me ask you again. When you think about your faith journey, how have you grown in this area, right? Maybe there are some of us who feel that our faith journey is stagnant. Just like, like when you think about your faith, your Christianity, like your belief that you following Jesus, it's just nothing exciting, right? That's just boring, right? Maybe, just maybe, again, I don't know. I'm just trying to throw things out here this morning. Maybe it's because we don't allow ourselves to experience growth, right? When we do things that are just convenience for us, right? When it's fit my schedule, when I'm comfortable, I'll do it. So it doesn't allow us to stretch ourselves, right? We never allow ourselves to be put in the position where it is so uncomfortable that will allow us to adapt, right? You know that, hey, if I do that, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I got to do it because it's going to force myself to adapt. That's when we grow. We never put ourselves in the position where it is so challenging. You know that if I do that, if I commit to that, it's going to challenge me. And it's going to force me to learn and to get better, right? Maybe we just never put ourselves in the place where or in the position where this is going to be so important and this is so crucial. I cannot casually commit to this because other people's life is on the line, right? I got to commit to this. Right? Maybe we just never put in the position where it's our leadership is required. Because when you think yourself as a leader, this is what we started to think. What I say matter. How I carry myself matter. What I post on social media matters because people are looking up to me. Maybe we never put ourselves in that position. That is why our Christian faith has been so boring and so stagnant. So a little bit of stress is good. A little bit of challenge, the right amount of dose of stress, it's good for all of us, whether it's at the workplace, whether in our faith journey. Are you still with me, church? Let's move on to the second one. EMT, embrace it. The second one is manage it. Manage it. Right? Stress helps us grow. What makes stress bad when it's not being managed properly? What makes stress bad is when we don't control it, right? When it's not being controlled. According to Gallup poll, they did this research in 2017. They said that 55% of Americans says that they are stressing out. And then when they ask people from different countries around the globe, the number is actually below. The average of the people who are stressing out in other countries around the globe is about 35%. So everybody 35% and 55% for us. I'm just thinking about this, right? I said this before. If having more stuff make us happy, we should be the happiest people in the world. I mean, because look at what we have in this country, right? Around us. There's another research that was done by American Psychological Association. They call this research Stress in America. This actually was done last year. They said that American, in this research, in this study, that American are stressing out about these different issues like climate change, abortion law, safety, including the mass shooting, right, and immigration issue. And according to this research also, we are more stressed out in this year election compared to the previous elections. Now, I'm not saying that this topic doesn't really matter, right? I'm not trying to downplay or saying that this is not important. All of those issues are important. But I just want us to think about this. A lot of stresses that happen in our life are self-inflicted. In other words, it caused by us, right? Especially when all of the things that I just talked about, when it comes to our news consumption, when it comes to our technology, our social media. And if those things stresses us out, I think we should manage, we should be careful in terms of our consumption, reading the news and watching the news. In this survey, still the same survey, it says that 7 out of 10 people agree with this statement that the media blow things out of proportion. Of course, right? Because nobody's gonna click their link or nobody gonna read the news, nobody gonna read their articles if they don't make it like, wow, the world is about to end, right? 54% of Americans said that they want to stay informed about the news, but in doing so, it will cause them stress. They're aware of that. Again, let me say this. I'm not saying that you don't read the news, don't watch the news, right? But you and me, we have to be aware of how much we consume the news. No wonder we live in fear. Or no wonder we feel like the world is about to end, right? It's because we don't control our news consumption. No wonder we get stressed out. No wonder we feel behind. We feel less satisfied. We feel discontent. We feel that we are not as success as other people. It's because, again, we are on social media 24/7 and just kind of watch the highlight reel of people's life. Nobody gonna post bad stuff online, right? When good things happen, that's when they post it, and you only see the good side of them, and you compare your life to them, and it makes us feel less satisfied about our life. This is what the writer of Psalms says. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Where do we set our eyes on? Where do we put our focus on? Is it on the 24 hours news cycle, or is it really on the Lord, on his promise, on his words that will give us life? They love the Lord's teaching and they think about those teachings day and night. What are you thinking, or what are you meditating on? Are we meditating that news? Are we meditating that people's life that we see on? Is that what we keep thinking about? Or are we thinking about the Word of God and the teaching of God that will give us peace in the middle of this chaos in the world? One more thing here. When I'm afraid, I will put my trust in you. When I'm afraid, I will put my trust in you. So, stress, you got to embrace it, you got to manage it. And here's the last one here before we dismiss. EMT, embrace it, manage it, and talk about it. This is speaking about our support system. Talk about it. Is someone named Dr. Caroline Leaf. Her title is actually cognitive neuroscientist. I don't know what it is, but it just sounds smart, right? This is what she said. Finding life difficult at times is not something to be ashamed of. If you are in difficult situation, right? Don't be ashamed of that. If you are facing something that's challenging you or stressing you out, don't be ashamed of that. While suppressing your emotion will throw your brain and body into toxic stress, which can severely impact your mental and physical health, right? If you don't talk about it, if you just keep it to yourself, it will kind of like, in other words, it will poison your body, it will poison your health. This is why it is so important to develop a habit of reaching out. A habit. It has to become our habit, not once in a while, but so important for you and me to develop a habit of reaching out to people, call other people when you need help, seek help when times get tough, which helps strengthen our immunity to stress in the brain by activating positive genetic switches in the brain. It's healthy for you to reach out to people. Remember, the key to dealing with stress is not pretending that you are always okay. Next slide, please. The key of dealing with stress is not pretending that you're always okay. Rather, resilience to stress comes from being proactive in seeking help and helping others. You will develop resilience. You will develop the endurance that we talked about earlier. When you have the habit of seeking help, and not only that, instead of you stressing out by yourself, you actually help others. It will help you to develop endurance and resilience to stress, which the scripture wrote about this 3,000 years ago in the book of Proverbs. It says that the heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. Having a friend and being able to talk about it, it just feel good, right? I want to end our meeting today with this thing that there's someone named Dr. Henry Cloud. He's a psychologist. He make an illustration that this life is like a four corner of universe. I know it sounds like what is this? Is this a new age teaching, right? So there's four corner of universe. I think it's okay for you to go to the next slide, Nadia, right? So the way we put it is this. Like when you fly on a plane and then like when it's landed, you have to turn off your phone, and then when you land it, that you turn it on, right? And it's searching for connection, right? This Dr. Henry Cloud says that us, human being, right, people, we are always searching for connection in this life. But there are four type of connection that we have to know. The number one is no connection. Right? In other words, this is the people who are, we work with people, we are surrounded with people. When you go to church, you have a lot of people around you, right? But we have no connection to them, right? In other words, people know us only on the service. We know other people only on the service, right? We are not trying to open up our life for people to come into our life. We are not trying to get closer to people. So no connection. That's the first type of connection that's the first type of relationship that people have. They don't have any relationship. The second one is what we call the bad connection. This is the toxic relationship in your life. This is the bad relationship in your life, right? Or if you're a customer of T-Mobile, you know this, right? But anyway, I'm sorry. But anyway, this is when you have like controlling spouse, right? It's hard to please parents, a bad work environment, right? You have maybe I don't know, just it's hard for you to help your teenagers. So this is the type of relationship, right? Or this can be the voice in our head that keep telling us that you are not good enough, you are a failure, you don't have any future, you are no good, you are too old, you're done, you can never recover from your past, right? And I'm sorry to say this, but this is sometimes can be a church as well, when they told you that you're never good enough for God. Right? God is disappointed at you. You don't measure up, right? And as a result, you're going to keep trying to earn God's grace, which you cannot be earned. God give it to you freely. He loves you unconditionally, right? But we keep thinking that I got to do more and more and more for God. So that's the bad connection. Now, the third one is what he called feel-good connection. Right? This is a place where it feels good for a little bit and then it hits you. Maybe the best way to represent this would be like a sugar rush, right? It's like you get, it just gives you a rush and then it just drop you, right? It feels good, but it will make you wanting more and more. This can be your relationship or my relationship with something like drugs, alcohol, pornography, right? Or this can be our relationship with food, right? Many of us have an affair for a long time with Ben and Jerry, right? According to Dr. Henry Cloud, work can be also a place for us to, can be categorized in feel good connection too. Because according to Dr. Cloud, a lot of people run to this connection, run to this corner, feel good connection, is because they don't want to face the reality. They don't want to face their emotion, right? Instead of dealing with it, then we are running to this corner. Instead of dealing with it, we are just work harder and harder. Instead of dealing with it, we are just eating more and more. And you know what's included in this category? Friendship, artificial friendship. We have 10,000 followers on Instagram, right? Our Facebook account is full. But in reality, we don't have any friend around us. You see, friendship can be very hard because you are dealing with people. I'm people, you are people, right? Whenever we are dealing with people, it's difficult. So this is what we think. This is what I'm just going to choose an online friends. It's easier, right? Because I don't have to deal with the real people. You know what I'm afraid, guys? This is just me expressing my concern. I'm afraid if there are some of us who treat church like this, right? Here's what I mean. Let me just come on Sunday morning so that I get a dose of encouragement. Let me just inject myself with just for a feel good moment on Sunday morning. Well, that's okay. Because that's one of the function of the church, to encourage you, to speak life over you. But there are other parts of what it means to be part of the church, right? And our goal as a church for you to be part of our community, and then one day or soon enough, you will find someone that you will connect with, a couple people that you're going to be friends with, that you're going to have a real connection with them. You open up your life, and they open up their life, and then you have a real connection, which bring us to the fourth corner there. It's called a good connection. This is what we call a real community. Good connection and real community. This is when we as human beings actually thrive. This is our habitat. Just like fish in the water. This is where we will thrive the most. But here's the thing. I don't have to tell you, but I'm just going to say it. I think all of you already know, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Community is messy, isn't it? You deal with people. I'm not perfect. You are not perfect. And then we meet, right? And then you will have to try to love somebody that you just met, that you barely know. You're going to have to accept people that you barely know. You're going to have to trust people that you just met, right? That you don't know whether that person can be trusted, right? And you think that, man, that person is weird. I'm going to have to love them, right? If you don't know anybody's weird, there's a chance that, you are trying to love the people that are not perfect. In community, right? You're going to learn to forgive. In community, you're going to learn to forget. You're going to cry. You're going to laugh. You're going to get disappointed. You're going to get encouraged. That's the messiness of community, but at the same time, that's the beauty of community. Here's what I want you to remember. The messiness of community is better than the cleanliness of isolation. No matter how messy community is, it's still way better than when everything perfect, but you are alone. Jesus came to this world. He could have done everything by himself. I mean, he's God, right? He doesn't need other people. But he chose to share his life with 12 of his closest disciples, right? Did he need help? I don't think so. But I think his main goal is just to show you and me, to model it to us, that life is not meant to be lived alone. This is how you're supposed to live your life in the community. Share your life with others. In the New Testament, there are 59 commands of one another, one another. 59 commands, right? Love one another, forgive one another, encourage one another, right? Confess to one another. The word one another cannot be done if we are alone. Everybody agree with that, right? You need other people to do one another. And we cannot do the command that God gave us if we live in isolation. How do we respond to stress? Embrace it. A dose, the right amount of stress is good for us, for help us to grow. Manage it, right? You are in control more than you know it. And talk about it. Have a support system. Be in the real community. Take a risk to open up your life. Take a risk once in a while that it's okay for you to get disappointed. Take a risk in that, right? So I hope you have a lot of questions. So at this moment, Nadia, can you put a 1 minute countdown and you pull out your phone and help us do this better and ask question. 1 minute, and then while I'm inviting the musician to come forward, singing one more song for, yeah. Guys, I hope you are asking us question. I would love to answer it for you.